Hey guys, good morning. This is KI5NPL, ham radio for non-techies, and we are at the Wings Over Houston Airshow for 2021. It is really early in the morning, and just kind of give you guys a little background of what's over here. Got this massive plane behind me, this massive jet. Looks like it's from NASA. Still haven't quite figured out what it's for yet, but we'll figure that out later and get some questions answered. But want to welcome you guys to the Airshow today. We're gonna get a couple interviews in and walk around, get some good footage, and hopefully catch a couple planes and jets doing their thing. So I will check back with you shortly. Stay tuned.
Okay, so my radio club here in town, the Brazos Valley Amateur Radio Club, came out to do amateur radio support for the Wings Over Houston 2021 Air Show. And the job of our amateurs here was to just kind of watch and look for any problems or issues, help find, children that might be lost and reacquaint them with their parents or reunite them with their parents. And just basically just do, be the eyes and ears on the ground and help out the other security personnel and make sure the show runs nice and smoothly. So with that, we went on to our first interview.
All right, so we're here today with George, KD5 or
KD5AYF.
KD5AYF, and he is the head of the ham radio, amateur radio group, support group out here for the Wings Over Texas for Houston, or Wings Over Houston Air Show. And so tell us a little bit about the Air Show and a little bit about the history of it. And
Sure will. Well, Scott, first of all, thanks for coming out.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Anything to advance the cause here and further the hobby. Wings Over Houston, I believe this is the 36th year for Wings Over Houston. Ham radio, the greater Houston ham radio community has been a part of this from day one. Of course, 36 years ago, nobody had cell phones. And these are a bunch of wonderful volunteers, airshow volunteers that don't want to be bothered with radios. They love airplanes, they don't so much love radios. And so back then, when cell phones were not as prevalent and very expensive, we were assigning communicators to the pertinent individuals here, those that are on the board, those that are staff. My position here is as staff coordinator for the amateur radio response for Wings Over Houston. This is my 24th year as a volunteer, and it's my 17th year being on staff.
wow.
So, and we have had a wonderful response from the Houston area clubs, BVARC, NARS, Katy Cars, the Clear Lake Amateur Radio Club, the Johnson Space Center Amateur Radio Club, and many more. We are a guest on the repeater here at Ellington Field of Wayne Wright, K5QDG, who lets us use the repeater here for our use. And we've been blessed because we used to run simplex here, which causes its own problems. Big metal things like this helicopter, this Apache here, or some of the other airplanes that you'll see, or the hangars are all made out of metal, and they tend to block radio signals.
That's
and
never a good thing.
Never a good thing, especially when your job here is communications.
Yep.
Or your body with a little rubber ducky antenna, you're 99% water, that blocks radio signals as well. So yes, 36 years the Houston Amateur Radio community has been part of Wings Over Houston.
Now, is that same 36 years the same amount of time that the air show's been running, or have y'all been here from the beginning? Or
Wings Over Houston has been a 501c3 corporation. That's why we are able as hams to involve ourselves, because it is a nonprofit. They give scholarships to kids who are going to college for aviation careers, and all of the sponsors of the air show, the Houston Wing, the Gulf Coast Wing, and Tora are the three sponsors of Wings Over Houston, and monies go to those wings in order to keep the airplanes flying.
Wow.
So we all have heard this term, keep them flying.
Yeah.
This is one of the ways that we do so.
So with the amateur radio operators are out here today, what's their prime, what are some of the jobs they fulfill
while out here? What's their purpose of being out here and doing support?
Well, we're going to have today probably 20 to 25 hams on the field. We have a special air show, an air show that is strictly designed for children with special needs, so that they can come out and see an air show when they really can't handle the rigors of a full public air show. So we will be doing health and welfare today for them, and then this afternoon we have a drive-in show. We're going to do a little bit of parking, duty. So we run the gambit. We have medical crews that are stationed with medical crews that are running medical emergencies around the field. We run logistical support. We find lost children and reunite them with lost parents. Or vice versa. The kids will say I wasn't lost. The parents will say I wasn't lost. So
it's his fault.
Yeah, that's one of our prime missions, and it's one that people cherish, because any of the parents out there know, you look down and you don't see Johnny or Susie, it's immediate panic.
Yeah.
And so we have a good reputation. We can generally find a lost child within 5 to 10 minutes when we have 60 or 65 hams on the field, all wearing the fluorescent green vest like you're modeling so nicely there. And so our air show announcer, a guy by the name of Rick Peterson, will be announcing about once every 20 to 30 minutes that anybody who loses a child or a parent, look for one of the guys in the Wings Over Houston radio communications vests, and we will reunite you with whoever you lost. And that's one of our main jobs here. You know, the other stuff is we're making sure garbage cans get to where they need to go. We're making sure that food gets where it needs to go. Water needs where it needs to go. If anybody needs any other logistical support, they call us. We set them up with the right people, and we make that happen. We don't do any in the air communications whatsoever. But whatever the board of directors, the city of Houston, those people that we serve, and there will be a bunch, we can expect to have anywhere between 110 120,000 people out here for the entire weekend. As I understand it, I may be wrong, but I understand that this is the largest ham radio response in the country. We serve more people here over a 3-day period than anyone else in the country, and we can do so because it's a nonprofit organization.
Yeah, I was going to kind of be my next question with you. With this Texas weather being so cooperative at this time of year, you know, I was going to ask how many people come out. You said about 120,000 people showing up over the course of today till Sunday when this closes, right?
Right.
That's a pretty good turnout.
It is, and we will typically set records. This year we have the United States Air Force Thunderbirds and the Canadian Forces Snowbirds here. So we have two of the premier flight demonstration teams in the world here at Wings Over Houston this year. Next year we'll host the Blue Angels. Cool. And Houston is an aircraft town. I mean, people love airplanes, and we're a Navy town, so we have a lot of people that love the Blue Angels. We have a lot of Air Force folks here that love the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds, and we've got a lot of people that come out to see the Snowbirds because they perform a ballet in the sky.
Yes.
Where the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels are raw power. And, you know, when you've got an F-16 that comes screaming along the flight line at 250 feet at just under the sound barrier, it'll wake you up.
It's a little loud.
It's a little loud. Very loud environment here.
I've been to a couple of different flybys. They came out last year. They did a whole tour around Texas, I guess.
Yes.
And they flew right through my area. And it was just amazing. There were people out everywhere watching it. It was only lasted all 3 seconds.
Yep.
You see them on the horizon, all of a sudden, they're gone.
Yep. But when we were under the gun with COVID, the Blue Angels flying over the city of Houston, boy, it instills pride in you like you can't imagine.
And I think it's a morale booster people needed at the time, and
yes,
really got people out there and
yep.
and getting back involved and trying to have some normalcy in life.
This is true. This is true.
Well, I mean, so we're here at the air show. There's a lot of things to see. I mean, obviously we got the Thunderbirds over here, which are outside of the camera range at the moment. We'll get footage of that later. Lots of different aircraft. What kind of aircraft can people expect to see out here? Is it like all could be new stuff, old stuff, mixture of everything?
It's going to be a mixture of everything. If you look to the north here, which you may get to later, you'll see our Warbird ramp. We have a very special group of aircraft down there from the Battle of Britain. We have Vietnam aircraft. You'll see a MiG-21 down there, a Huey Cobra gunship, and to the left over here you'll see a MiG Me-262. Pardon me, a Messerschmitt Me-262. It is the first operational jet aircraft ever.
Oh, wow.
And it was a German aircraft.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what to do about it when we first saw it. But we have one of the tenants here here on the field has got an Me-262 that he'll be flying. So so you'll see Warbirds, you're going to see B-17s, you're going to see B-25s and A-26s and A-1 Sky Raiders and P-40 Warhawks and P-51 Mustangs. You'll see the F-16 Fighting Falcon that the Thunderbirds fly. The Snowbirds fly an aircraft called a Tudor. It's a side-by-side trainer, which is kind of a low power trainer that Canada uses, and this, like I said, the Snowbirds perform a ballet. We're going to have some single ship demos. We'll have the F-18 Super Hornet from Naval Air Station Oceana coming in. We have a C-17 Globemaster 3 demo that's going to happen. We have the F-22 Raptor that's going to be performing here, which is a superb airplane, vectored thrust, and it's going to put on a show for us. It was here last year, and he vowed to come back. People who are in the military love Wings Over Houston because we take care of them so well.
Well, it sounds pretty fascinating. I mean, you just called out a whole bunch of model numbers of planes. I have a hard enough time figuring out the model numbers of all the radios I've got, much less for the planes. Well, that sounds fantastic. I think we're going to do a little running around and
yes, sir.
Kind of see the sights, and we'll get back more. But again, this is George. If you guys did miss this, obviously you're watching the shows be the week after, but you need to make plans, come out here, check out this air show. I think you have a great time. If you're a local ham in the area, come see about volunteering and getting on the staff and come in and check out, see what we do out here. We'll check up you guys shortly. So with that, we hopped on a golf cart with George here, and he took us for a little stroll around the airstrip, showing us all the different planes. And coming up here is that one he was talking about, the Me-262 Messerschmitt, which was the very first jet plane created by the Germans during World War II. You see it right there in the image. Really fascinating to see a lot of these planes out there. I mean, a lot of these I grew up with as a kid. You know, if you grew up like I did, you built lots of model airplanes and stuff like that. And I probably built most of these planes and had them in my room as a child. But it was really cool to kind of see these things up close and personal and see them in real life. I mean, you know, seeing them on TV is one thing. You hear about them, you read about them, see pictures. But coming up on one of these things and seeing the mass amount of power these things had back then and the technology that went into these things for that time period is actually pretty fascinating. So we ended up just kind of driving around some more and just looking at all the different planes. He's explaining all these planes to me. I mean, George really knows his stuff. He knows about every one of these planes. Could probably tell you what kind of spark plugs go into things, right? But we were just kind of running around and just looking at all different planes and things, just having a good time with it. And I really enjoyed the fact that I didn't have to walk around and look at all this stuff. You know, being in the golf cart made for a heck of a lot of an easier way to get some B-roll for this video here. But we ended up having a lot of fun. Oh, this one here, the Guppy, this big whale-looking thing. Apparently, this thing used to collect and carry space station parts and other things for NASA. This other little jet here, I think, is a little trainer that they use for the astronauts and stuff. But this thing here, this monster, is just a massive, massive piece of machinery. It reminds me of a Bumblebee because the body is so big. You know, it's got turbo engines on it, same ones they use on like the C-130s and stuff. But I'll tell you what, I don't know how this thing gets off the ground. We sat there looking at it. He assures me it can do it, even with a full load. But, I mean, it just doesn't look like it would fly. I mean, the wingspan doesn't look big enough. The engines don't look big enough. It's just, you know, it's a massive piece of machinery. And finally, this is the one of the jets that they use when they train the astronauts. They'll fly around in this thing, do all their training before they go up into the shuttles or into the doing space operations. So that was pretty much it. It was a really, really cool time. And we ended up going back into where the ham radio guys were and set up for another interview. All right, so we're back, guys. We're in front of the Fort Bend County MCOM trailer, and George is back with us again. We're going to learn a little bit more about if you want to come in and volunteer. He's going to kind of give us the details on that. So George, with that, go ahead.
Well, again, thanks for coming out, Scott. Yes, this is a completely volunteer event. And again, ham radio has been doing this for 36 years. We'd love to have you out. If you're a ham and you love airplanes and you want to try your hand at public service, certainly that's what we have ham radio licenses for. And I like to say, come out and put your amateur radio license to public use. And if you'd like to volunteer, you can reach me at my call sign. That's KD5AYF, Kilo Delta 5 Alpha Yankee Fox, at Reagan, as in Ronald Reagan.com. KD5AYF at Reagan.com. Send me an email. We'll put you on the roster for next year, and we'd love to have you out. And as Scott just mentioned, we want to thank Fort Bend County Office of Emergency Management and County Judge KP George for the use of their trailer, and we've been using it now for 5 years. Very generous, very gracious of them to offer this for our use. So I want to thank them for that. And I want to thank you again, Scott, for coming out.
Well, I appreciate it. So guys, everything will be, all links for everything will be down below in the video here. Again, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. And if you take this opportunity now, doesn't cost you anything, hit the subscribe button, click on the little bell, be notified when I do new videos. And we're gonna keep covering the show here, but let's keep rocking and rolling and see what happens next.
So after spending time with George and interviewing him about the details of the air show and finding out what it is the ham radio operators were doing to help support the air show, we were free to roam around the place and check things out. So we went out and watched some of the pre-show entertainment that they had. Now, these first two clips, a couple guys brought some remote control aircraft out there. The first one's a plane, and the second one's a helicopter. And the stuff they were doing with these remote control planes and stuff, I'd never seen anything like that before. It was kind of cool. And then the next clip coming in is to start the show, when the special needs children started showing up, and they're all situated and ready for their special show for the day. They had a bunch of guys jump out of planes and parachute in to the national anthem, and then the actual show started up. So we'll get I'll just show you some of the footage. I'm not going to do a whole lot of narration here. It's kind of self-explanatory. When the Thunderbird stuff comes up, I use some really, really good audio equipment, so turn those speakers up, make your house shake, and we'll come back here for final thoughts. So how about that, guys? That's pretty cool, huh? So first I want to thank George for inviting me out to do a show out there and kind of give coverage of this event and show how ham radio does work as a service when needed, and especially for something like this where we're helping out the community, making sure the children are safe, stuff like that. It's a really, really good cause. So I really enjoy the fact that he brought me and invited me out there to shoot and show me around and kind of give me a once-over of the entire place. The show itself was pretty cool. I mean, the Thunderbirds couldn't do their full normal show because the special needs children were out there. They had to space apart their maneuvers because they did them too much or came by too close. There was a chance that it could cause seizures. I was kind of watching the crowd, although I didn't get them in the video. I was kind of watching the crowd, and some of the kids were kind of having a little bit of a time with it. But you know, the majority of the people out there really enjoyed themselves and had a really good time. The show was good. It was definitely loud. I mean, if you turned up your speakers, I had my good directional mic on when I was shooting this stuff. And yeah, when the Thunderbirds came by and I did, try to get some of them taking off and stuff like that. He had 2 birds go up at first, and they were kind of like surveying the land, and 2 more came up, and they started the actual show with all 4 of them. I had some other footage of the 4 of them flying and kind of splitting off into formations, or off the formation there, and going off and doing crazy stuff. But unfortunately, I was an idiot and my mic wasn't on at the time, so that footage got cut out of this video. But if you've seen the Blue Angels, you've seen the Thunderbirds before, you're familiar with the antics they do up in the sky and the entertainment they provide with their, I mean, they're so skilled. I mean, those guys, when they're flying, they can't be more than maybe 5 feet apart, and they're going at hundreds of miles an hour, staying in formation and just performing impossible things that has to take, months, if not years of training and practice to accomplish. The final cut you saw in the video is what they called the Heritage Flight. And I saw this at first. I was in the trailer. We were sitting down, we're getting ready to wrap up, and I heard another plane come out. And I saw this old World War II prop plane come out. And I was looking at that. I was okay, that's kind of cool. Then I saw this F-16 flying around it, and slowly I guess they were just doing circles around the airstrip. And at one point, the F-16 starts coming up on the older World War II plane. I was like, oh my God, don't get in front of them because your props will blow that thing right out of the water. So what they were doing is what they call the Heritage Flight, and basically the 2 of them fly in tandem, and they just fly around and circle around the entire air base, kind of showing the new and the old. And it's kind of like an honor to the people who flew those planes from World War II to the present day. Really fun, really cool thing to go check out. Again, if you guys missed it this year, you really should try and get out to it next year. And like you said, we provide the largest service, or as far as we know, the largest ham radio response service in the country for an air show like this, handling over 120,000 people over a weekend. So that's pretty fantastic and pretty fascinating. Again, George, thank you very much for having me out. I really appreciate that. The rest of you guys, I hope you enjoyed the footage. I want to keep this as short as I can. We've already been running past 20 minutes. And I wanted to make sure that we got a lot of good information there. Let you kind of see an idea what the air show's like. Again, I got there on Friday when they were still bringing stuff in. They were still setting up a lot of things, but we got to see quite a few various planes. They brought in more stuff after we had left. And if I'd gone up there on Saturday and Sunday, I probably would have gotten a whole lot more footage of a lot bigger stuff and lots of other things. They actually had it was like the front of a jet. And I guess for a fee or whatever, you could go inside this thing and had a VR experience where you could actually fly a fighter jet. Of course, you're not really flying, you're just flying in VR. But you're sitting in the cockpit, all the controls are hooked up to the VR, and you can actually fly and go into, battles or something like that. I didn't get a chance to check that out. They were still setting that up when I was out there. But a lot of cool things. So anyway, guys, that's all I've got for today. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Ham radio is a service as well as a hobby. Don't ever forget that. And I hope that if you are looking to get into the hobby, that you'll use this channel and the other channels out there to get yourself educated and study for those tests, pass those tests, and become a ham operator and join us in this great hobby. Until then, guys, this is Ham Radio for Non-Techies, and we are clear.